Hi everybody, I'm Bobby DeChellis, a local 728 rigging gaffer. Welcome to the Outpost, and let's come take a look at my truck. So the Outpost is a bit of a co-op. You can see all the names on here, and this is where a lot of gaffers, rigging gaffers, and even, believe it or not, even some grips are allowed in. We store our stuff, and it's a really cool place. These are other gaffers' trailers and things, and we can kind of come here, share stories, share equipment, and you know, it's just a nice place to be able to come together. And this is my truck. This is a rigging truck. The number one thing we do is we rig cable. And of course, the irony being I have no cable on this truck. I don't own cable, but I own a lot of other distribution equipment. And so this is, where when we start a show, we'll go to a lamp dock and we will load these bins full of cable or various other things, and we'll go out on the road, and this is how we rig our locations. When I was a kid, whenever I did anything with my dad did lighting. First thing he ever did was he would set up work lights. We couldn't do anything. He would get clip lights and he would make sure we could see what we were doing. I can't tell you how many times I go in a lighting truck and you can't see what you're doing. And I always feel like that's like a weird thing, right? Your whole job is lighting. And obviously we're lighting sets, but we also light for safety. So I like a well-lit truck so you can see what you're doing, you can find what you need, you're not pulling out your phone, using a flashlight. A lighting truck ought to have good light, you know, call me crazy. So we spent a lot of time on this. In fact, Dave Melhorn, one of my crew members, did this on the last show and put lights in all these bins, which I did not ask him to do, but he did it on his own time, and they look great. I've had this truck 5 years. I work on it all the time. The ceiling was the latest upgrade. I did that during the strike, looking for something to do. And that's kind of, I hope, the last thing I have to spend money on, because no matter how the truck looks, it still rents for the same, But, it's like I say, it's the art of talking without talking. When you kind of walk into a job, people see how you take care of your truck. They know you're a professional, or they at least think that you are. They don't know you're not. And they, you just get treated a little bit differently. And you don't have to you're always working with new people and new places. And there's a lot of, bravado and people puffing their chests out. And it's like, there's no need for any of that. But the point is that we're all professionals. And sometimes just having things like this get your point across without you having to act like a tough guy, which is my least favorite thing to do. So that's why this truck's a big deal to me. Green's kind of my color jacket. I've always liked green. It's the logo for my company. And so as we're going to go through later, you're going to see that I have different colors for different things. When I was on Mindhunter, I had a lot of crews going. And basically I realized I would go to carts, or I'd go to places and I'd have all saws and no drills, or I'd have all screwdrivers and no cutters. And it was getting frustrating. And I was trying to think of ways to tell the crew where to put things back. And I realized I had so many tools, I actually had these different color groups of tools. And so I thought, hey, why don't I separate everything by color? And so the truck is green, and we'll see a little bit later, I have a yellow cart, a blue cart, I even have a purple cart and a red cart. And this is really, I kind of call it the art of talking without talking, which I know is weird coming from me because I never stop talking. But it kind of just tells people what to do without having to tell them. Anybody can walk on this truck and things become inherently obvious to them, where they go and how they go away. And it just saves me from having to have the same conversation with people over and over and over again. And there's a lot of unique gear on here. And every piece of gear has a story, how I got it. These black stands, for instance, Danny Gonzalez on Mindhunter showed me how great a black stand can be. Putting it in the background, don't have to worry about rigging a light. You can just put it on the stand and it disappears. So right after the show, I went out and bought these. People actually borrow these from me all the time because they work out great. Another big part of my truck I'm very happy about is what I call the most used things. Oftentimes I go to work for somebody, there are certain tools we use a lot of, tape, markers, they're buried deep in the truck. I tried very hard to make this truck make sense. So everything we use the most is on the back end of the truck. The other thing that was important to me was this open idea. People often will reuse something or open new versions of something over and over and over again. And so I always wanted the open section. So the crew knows if you need something, go to the open section. If it's not there, then get something new. And that way we don't wind up with 20 half-used rolls of tape. So coming down this way, we have my cable bins. I'm a big fan of cable bins. This is typically where we'll store 4-aught or heavy cable. In fact, look, there's some cable right there. Lots of different ways to do it. The cable bins, they're good because I don't have to put cable in them. As you can see, I have rack cases in here and other things. So there's a lot of other options to choose from. They're a great way to store things. You know, there's so much stuff out there. You know, believe it or not, Etsy, a lot of stuff on Etsy on here. Mounts for stuff like this blower right here, all Etsy. These brackets, those weren't from Etsy. Those are from Home Depot. But lots of all different places to get what I needed for this truck. You know, my friend built these bins, but I got this diamond plate from Pittsburgh. You know, everything's got a story. A big thing I like to do is be self-sufficient on my truck. Brian Lucas, who I mentioned earlier, a great guy, he hated waiting for other departments. And so we would carry things that maybe most rigging crews don't carry. We would even carry layout board because he would hate waiting for a layout board person to lay a cable down. So like right here I have span sets, and span sets are basically like big safety rigging things that we loop through and we hold things with. And a lot of electricians don't carry them. But I like having my own. I hate bothering other departments for tools that I need constantly. So a big part of this truck is making sure we have what we need to kind of not bother other people and enough to get things done. You know, you got to start with the tape. Color tape, that's the #1 lighting tool, right? All the different colors of gaff, the shiny stuff. You got black, you got brown, you got gray. You can't beat tape for hiding cables and marking cables. And as we segue from tape, we get into globes, and we go from like standard studio globes over here to clear globes, flame tips, JDRs, and still some of the old classics like, of course now I'm forgetting the name, it's been so long, ECTs and things like that. Don't see a ton of. Gotta have my magnet kits, love my magnets, always use magnets for rigging. We work our way down, more power boxes, and then we start to get into the more networking side, optosplitters, switches. This is a huge part of the truck now, you know, never existed before. Above that, we got more cable stuff, more of the unique globes, laser level, gotta have a laser level. This side's kind of the electrical side. You can see we start off here with cube taps and power strips, and as we work our way down the truck, you'll see, I try to create a theme. It doesn't always quite work out because there's always new things and new gear coming in. So as we come down the truck, you know, up here I have sort of the smaller power distribution, and this kind of segues down as we go. Under here is all adapters, and as we get farther down, you'll see some of the more kooky adapters that for effects and things like that. I always really liked this lunch pail. This was something me and a friend of mine designed. This is back when phones were kind of new, not new, but you know, they're really becoming a problem on set. So I had the idea of a phone charging lunch pail. I call it the client box. Never took off. Nobody wanted to buy one. So I have the only one. Anyway, a lot of stuff like that on this truck. I got a lot of things that didn't quite work out. So yeah, we got power, adapters, cables in the bins, but I also have some networking stuff there. You know, shelf to store things. It's all about maximizing your space, right? You can only fit so much things here. So I wanted to make sure that I used every piece available. That's why I underhung these. These are all kind of light bins. You know, hand lines, sash, things that don't weigh a ton, but you always need a lot of, and they work out really well. Yeah, so this is kind of the new thing, right? We used to only have optical splitters, as they're known. But now I have a whole section here. If we come in, you can take a look at all the Ethernet switches, managed switches, nodes. These are kind of things, these are the new element of set, right? How we're utilizing things these days. That's why you see these boxes now, they have power and data combined, built in. And I crack up because the owner of this company, Craig, a friend of mine, I remember him telling me, hey, Bobby, I got a box with power and data together. I remember laughing, saying, why would I ever need that? And now I'm like, give me more. I need more power and data together. You know, we come down, we got more adapters. Most of these are effects. They even have their own bin, but every bin around here is basically for effects because they always show up with something. Love my effects brothers and sisters, but they love to show up with random things that need power. You know, these I've had for a long time. It seems silly, but this is, we call it Super Stinger. I bought these on Legion back before anybody really had these things. They're getting pretty beat up now. They're almost end of life. But it is a DMX and basically extension cord stinger in one. And this was stopping us from having to tape things together. And this was a really nice upgrade, and I was really happy about these. I've had them now for about 7 or 8 years, but they are, as you can see with the electrical tape, they're getting to the end of life. So time to send them out to pasture pretty soon. And now we're segueing. We got LED bulbs, you know, Panther cloth. This is the latest edition. Very cool stuff. It's high heat. It's way better than this Refisil, which is like a fiberglass stuff. Terribly itchy. Things are always being upgraded, you know, as new products come out. You know, wireless bridges for networking. Never would have seen this. My pops, who was a rigging gaffer, would have no idea what that is. I also try to put things how they exist. So I don't like taking things apart to put them away. So that's why, you know, I have nodes here and they hang because these are hanging nodes. And then I have other nodes that go other places. And so the idea is that when you use a piece of equipment, it's ready to go. You don't need to go put things together or get things. You know, the cables for them are right beneath them. Everything's right where it goes for efficiency. I hate waiting around. I hate standing around. We shouldn't, you know, people shouldn't have to go looking through your truck to find things. It's a terrible waste of time. This is a cable rack. This is another thing I'm really proud of. Cable, like everything, has a memory. And people will fight me on this. But if you unwrap cable from a spool, it will remember that. And it will not sit nice. But when you pull it off a reel, how it was designed, it will lay nice. And this is like a forever thing. The cable will always remember. The cable never forgets. Remember that. And so I really like having the rack here. All these different things. It's a great way to store reels too, because it's very difficult to store, you know, not take up room, unnecessary room. Permanent cutters that are chained here because people like to take them. And so nothing more frustrating to me than not having the tool I need when I need it. That's sort of the theme of this truck, is me getting frustrated and having tools where I need it. So we're going to see the other carts later. This is the green cart. I don't know if you can see the theme here. It's all green, all the tools. And if I open it up, you can see all the tools are green on the inside. You know, these aren't tools I use every day. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I'm not a mechanic, but when I need these tools, this is exactly what I need. And I'm constantly opening weird things and taking things apart and trying to fix things. And if I don't have the tool I need, then it's a trip to Home Depot. It's begging another department. And I might be losing hours for a $5 tool. So it's very important to me to always have what I need when I need it. Of course, you know, you have the power tools, things like that. But yeah, it's the right tool at the right time is, there's nothing better than it. These are my wireless transmitter boxes I built from Mindhunter. Worked out great. Just a little tackle box, you know. Hardwired some stuff in there. Actually, a kid named Evan out there, really great guy, helped me wire them. So these are, you know, I built these when I was in Pittsburgh. It's like a rainforest. It rains all the time. And this No Gear was IP rated back then. No Gear was waterproof. So I built these so I could put them out in the rain and not have to worry about it. I also gave them baby plates on the bottom so they could go on stands. Easily to mount, easy to move, ready to go. You're not fiddling around. And that's the irony of a lot of our work. People think the big lights and the big cable take a lot of work. It's the little stuff. Trying to get a transmitter on a stand and zip tying it, putting a plastic bag over it, and then it falls over. The little things are always what kill you on a rig. The big stuff's easy. And so most of this truck is having the little stuff ready to go, you know? These are my original 8 distros. Well, original 4 I bought. I bought 4 more. I still have them. You know, they're workhorses. They're a little worse for the wear, but they still do get the job done. You know, typically, if I load out a show, this would all be full of stuff and things. And depending on the show, different things. You know, I might even swap out some of these crates for the show. It's all dependent on kind of what we're doing. This is the oldest thing on the truck. This is a work box bought from the great Randy Woodside, who was a great gaffer, retired now. Lista box, and this is sort of how it all started, the organization. When you're out of town by yourself, you know, you can kind of do a couple things, right? You can either drink alone in your room and be sad, or you can kind of find things to do. And so I would come, and I kind of made it my passion project. This is where the whole organization thing started, was to make this thing look nice. Because when I got it from Randy, it wasn't that organized. So, you know, I'd come in when I was done, and I'd come in here and I'd get labels, and I'd start organizing. And, you know, and it was nice. And once again, I don't use a lot of this stuff most of the time, but the time comes up where, you know what, having that bolt that fits that one thing is just the game saver. And, you know, as I go down, it's just drawer after drawer of things, of me not having it when I needed it, and it kind of biting me in the ass. Tons of socket adapters, things like that. Of course, this is kind of the newer drawer. Phoenix connectors, LEDs, Ethernet stuff, terminators. Still got to have fuses. You still run into fuses. There are set carts today with no fuses in them, which blows my mind. No pun intended. It's soothing to look at. My favorite drawer is the hardest one to see, which you might need to think is the globe drawer. So this is a veritable museum of old bulbs, but that are still great. You know, silver tips, classic. We used to use way big ones. I love these things. Beautiful bulbs. I love being able to pull these out for my art department friends. You know, PH140s. These are other classic photo bulbs. MR16s. The tubular bulbs. Cleared, frosted. BMYs, MR16s. I got all these bayonet bases. FELs, FDFs. These are all great bulbs that still, there's a certain quality to them and the way they give off light that just, I don't know if will ever be replicated by an LED. And I can't tell you how often I use these, and I love the way DPs and gaffers' faces kind of light up when they get to use the old stuff, because it's still great. Hard to find too. Gotta have a locker for the crew. You know, I hate people's backpacks everywhere, and a lot of my life, if you can't beat them, you gotta join them. So instead of telling them they can't bring all their junk on the truck, I just gave them a locker, you know, and that's a lot of my life is me just relenting because I have to, right? So this is my standard crew. You can see their names on here. You know, we got some more specialty stuff here. Shackles. Oh, heavy one. Lots of shackles. Grip equipment. I always carry some of my own grip equipment because it's just something you always need, and I hate bothering other departments. Shovels. Lots of digging. People don't realize how much digging we do. I love burying cables. One of the best things you can do. And then, of course, I have my workstation here. This is my best boy's desk. This is my station. This is all, so you can sit here and basically do anything you need to do, from soldering to heat shrink to labeling. It's a quick, everything's at your fingertips. It's ready to go. You don't got to wait. And so that's all really important to me. You're never looking for something. I can't stand having to spend time looking for things. More bulbs, of course, got to have them all. Camo nets, lubricants, ratchet straps, all sorts of fun stuff. Battery for addressing, grinder, more things. Oh, and of course, you got to have your testers and meters. Every cart I have has pretty much the exact same testers and meters in them, because I always need them, and I like everything to be the same. So I know no matter where I am with my cart, I always have the same tools, and I can always do the same things. Once again, I'm not looking for anything, right? There's nothing more embarrassing than holding up a whole rig for one tiny, tiny thing. It's frustrating, and it happens. Even with all this stuff, it still happens. I probably should show you. This is Little Bob. The guys made this. I did not. Darth Bobby, I guess. They think it's hilarious. I don't get it. Anyway, so let's go down the stairs. So these are the Jockey boxes. This is pretty unique to film trucks. You don't really see Jockey boxes. You know, people used to put the heaviest stuff down here. The heaviest things, and then you got to bend over and pull it out. It was the worst, and I could never understand that. Why would I put the heaviest objects where I have to bend over? So instead, I try to put the lightest objects down here, and then you know, hit up the old RV place, and they're all on rollers, and these actually roll both ways. Color coded. I go with the old Ray DePerna color coding system. He was a great guy at Warner Brothers. He does 3, 6, 12, 25 foot, 50 foot. That's the colors I use, you know, and it's always here what you need. And I can tell exactly what it is by looking at it. Once again, I'm not looking through things. Hey, what color is that? All my 50s are yellow. All my 25s are red. It's very easy to do. And you can see when I open the next drawer, you're going to see it's a different cable, but it's the same theme. Yeah, and so I made some specialty cable lengths, 18 footers, because the first unit I was on didn't like 12 footers, and they didn't like 25s. So I relented, even though I told them they were wrong. And those are the good sizes. So these are actually 18-foot cables. That's why they're gray, because I was out of colors. So that's a specialty one, but the 18 footers are very popular. But same, 12 footers, 3 footers, 6 footers, 25s, 50s. You know, and the goal is to not break people's backs, you know. They don't have to bend over and crawl in a Jockey box. I spent many of my life crawling in a Jockey box, pulling cable out, and I just don't want that on anybody. You know, big thing for me, you'll notice, this may sound silly, but I find the littlest things sometimes have the biggest ramifications. There's a number on the Jockey box door. I can tell somebody which Jockey box. Hey, go to the driver's side, the third one from the back wheels. I go to number 5. Go to number 6. Once again, this whole truck is designed to be efficient and to get people their things so they're not wandering around looking for everything. Oh, this one has pistons, I forgot. Slide out generator, you know, gotta have it. So, you know, we're at a location, there's no power. So yeah, slides right out, turn it on, it's ready to go. It's all about no waiting, being as efficient and quick as possible. You know, this truck allows me to do things much quicker than if I didn't have it. This is a force multiplier, as I like to call it. I think I alluded to this earlier when I was on Mindhunter. I had a lot of crews going, and I was getting frustrated because carts would wind up with all the same tool and not another tool. And so I realized, you know, you can't beat them, join them again. I got to make it easier for the crew to know where things go. And so I figured, what's the easiest way to make things work? Color coding, right? So I think it's pretty obvious which cart's what color. And you see, but this theme carries on to the hand tool, right? They're all yellow. Power tools, DeWalt. They're also DeWalt by design because now they can't mix the Makitas with the DeWalts. I don't wind up with the wrong battery with the wrong drill. All things that have happened to me and bit me. We got our meter case, same one you saw in the truck, but instead of everything being green, it's yellow. You know, and this is how I ensure things go back to where they go. There's nothing worse having some special tool, right? If they put it in the wrong case, I take the cart with me, I think everything's in there, I get there, and that is not with me. And now I can't meter the run, I can't check the network, or I can't do something very important because the tool got put away wrong. And I know it sounds laughable that I keep repeating myself, but the amount of time I've seen wasted because of one little thing is mind-boggling. And if producers knew we had 6 people on overtime because you forgot 1 meter, they would probably blow a gasket. These are the non-overtime carts. That's really what they're designed for. These are my go bags. I designed these for Pittsburgh. I was always replacing these fluorescents, and I needed so many tools. And so I created these go bags to have all the tools I was always using so I could just walk with them. And I could just go and change it and go and change it. I'm probably not as fast as I was, but I was really good at changing ballasts. I should have kept counting how many I changed. But you know, it's all about organizing. And then when you organize, people respect your cart better. They do things better. It's all about, you know, keeping things easy for everybody. So, you know, when I first load up a job, these carts will live down the aisle. That's what we call it, the aisle. And then, of course, they will go to typically different places. You know, even if we're on a lot, like on Mandalorian, we have stages over there and, you know, maybe 200 feet away. I can park one of these carts on each stage, and then my team can always have what they need. And they don't have to keep walking back and forth. Once again, wasted time, inefficiencies. And these go away, and it just makes it easier for everybody. But yeah, these are kind of like the home base. Wherever we set up, one of these carts goes. I never leave my team high and dry. They always have a cart and a cooler. It's actually had a really easy life because we've been sitting on the lot. And so that's why I always joke as people walk in and they say, this truck looks so pretty, do you do anything with it? I say, it's a looking truck. I say, ain't a working truck. But the truth of the matter is, it's gone out on a few jobs. It actually hasn't. It's also difficult to get a 48-foot trailer where it needs to be. So oftentimes this just becomes my sort of stationary office, right? It becomes Kevin Lang used to call it the supermarket slop truck. You know, I'll have basically extra gear on here, and then I'll have smaller trucks that go out to locations and do what they need to do. But I sort of have this home base. It's always difficult to get place on a soundstage, to get room. They never want to give you room, right? It's for art department, the set goes wall to wall, they got to put first unit carts. So I sort of store all my extra equipment here, and that's why I can be self-sufficient. They can park me on the back side of the lot if they want, wherever. I can stay out of their way. This is about me just having what I need and giving them a place to put me. You know, and I know I keep using that phrase, you can't beat them, join them, and ultimately that's what it really is, right? They won't give me a spot. There's nowhere to put the cable. Okay, let me put my trailer wherever you want, and I can have all my stuff there, and then I can drive trucks to it and get what I need. These are all things that just, you know, you're just playing by their rules, and so okay, how can I do it? And the truck is a great way to do that. So I've been in the industry for about 20 years now, and you know, it has changed a lot. We went from how much 4-aught can you run to how much data can you run. And so even though we still have pretty much all the old stuff, we just have a lot of new stuff. And that's the thing. Nothing's really quite been replaced yet. It's just another tool in the chest because, you know, we look at those small tungsten lights. They're not, the LED bulbs are just not the same. So this truck is sort of it's a story, it's a time capsule, it's all those things. It's indicative of how we used to do things and how we do things now. And you kind of, you never know what's going to roll up for that art department or whomever to get that set the way they want it to look.